So we'll go ahead and get started. People may log in. So I want to welcome everyone to our program today, Ask Me Anything. We have two experts with us today that you'll be able to ask questions. So we have Waleed Cope from the Soapbox and David McCourt, I hope I pronounced that right, Moulin. All right, from Family Laundry. So Waleed, I'm going to start with you. If you can give the audience a little bit more information about you, your background.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me today. So we're at Soapbox. We're located in Brooklyn, New York. We focus strictly since 2016 on pickup and delivery and drop off. We used to be self-service and drop off and pickup and delivery. But as our business changed over time since 2016, we decided to focus strictly on the service side of it. So we do exclusively pickup and delivery. And our services, we offer dry cleaning, wash and fold, as well as sneaker cleaning. And grew up in the business. My dad and my uncles got into the laundromat business when I was younger. So I've always been in and out of the business. But around 2015, I went all in and we took over the business from my dad.
Excellent. So David, if you can share a little bit about your background as well.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on this call. Happy to be here. My name is David McCourt Moulin, and I'm the co-owner with my wife, Laura, of Family Laundry in Oakland, California. We've been around since 2018, and we started out as a small neighborhood coin laundry, and quickly saw the limitations of that model once we started playing around with wash and fold, and specifically pickup and delivery. So like Waleed, we are almost exclusively, or we are exclusively a pickup and delivery service. We have two facilities that are closed to the public now. We do accept drop-offs for the neighborhood, but that only represents about 15% of our volume today. The reason we decided to go all in is to simplify operations and to really be able to provide one of the best services, or if not the best service in the Bay Area, by just focusing on doing one good thing. And that's about it.
Great. So our format for today is just a very open-ended opportunity for all of you to ask your questions of these two gentlemen. So on the right-hand side, there is a control panel, and you'll see an area for questions. If you just type it in there, I'm just going to keep going through and asking questions, either till time runs out or we're out of questions. So again, it's your opportunity to ask anything you want to know about wash, dry, fold, and or pickup and delivery. So we have a question already, and I think maybe both of you could answer this. So we'll start with you, David. What are some of the best ways to get customers for a new pickup and delivery operation?
That's a great question. I'm trying to go back to the beginning. For us, yes. I mean, it's a chicken and egg problem, right? Where you need business to get started. And I think we relied really on Google Ads at the beginning. We spent a lot of money on Google Ads just to prime the pump, so to speak, just to get enough people through the door, so that we could start getting, people talking about us. And so we could have, so that we could be making trips to people's houses, so that people could see our vans in the street. So the first year, I think we spent a good amount on Google Ads. That was helpful.
What about you, Waleed? What would you say were some of your best ways to get customers for pickup and delivery?
So we had, I'm sitting here doing the same thing as David, trying to think back to day one. And our goal was to spend as little bit of money as possible at that time when we first made it the transition, because what we did is when we had our self-service location on one side of the street, and then we opened up a second location directly across the street where we handle all of our drop off and pick up and delivery, because we branded it totally separate. So we wanted to give a different experience to our clientele who was focusing on the service side of the business. So in the early days when we first leased that space across the street, we looked at, different marketing, and I was like, how could I get the biggest bang for the least amount of money? And we decided to focus on social media. So we created Instagram and the Facebook profile for it, and we went all in. We had no idea what we were doing in the beginning. We were taking pictures of like washing machines and like people's clothes and us just running around the store making videos. And we posted it. And then we started experimenting with Facebook ads. We saw that we could spend a little bit of money. And obviously Facebook and Instagram ads were a lot different then than they are now. This platform has changed a lot when it comes to the reach and the different methods. But we took big advantage of that. We were able to spend a little bit of money and have a big impact, and really didn't know 100% what we were doing. Those ads, like, they can be very complicated. You can spend a lot of time trying to study it and understand how they work. But we figured out something was going on when we started doubling our drop off and pick up and delivery every month over month. And then we had a client walk in the store one day and they got upset at me. And they said, literally, if you pop up in my Facebook feed one more time about laundry or anything else, we're going to have a problem. I'm not really sure what the problem was going to be, because it didn't escalate beyond that, but I spent more money on those ads. And when I said we spent money, we were spending like maybe like $30 a week. We weren't spending a lot of money on it. It was super effective. And we used a radius feature where we were just targeting people immediately around like 2 miles from the store in the beginning. And it worked well for us to get a lot of exposure. And people started sending us DMs and private messages in the middle of the night. It was like, can you come pick up my laundry right now? And I was like, hey, I think we're on to something. So we just kept posting content and evolving over time on social.
Can I add to what Waleed just said, about the local focus, like focusing on a small geography? I mean, that's key. Starting small and trying to get, focusing just on a very small area is, it's going to cost you less, and it's going to just ensure that you start out efficiently. And that you can have a good group of people not too far from your facilities at the beginning, and then use that as a launch pad for going to neighboring areas. Definitely similar experience when it comes to that.
Well, and you're both from pretty urban areas too, so you would want to keep it smaller. I would imagine if you're in the middle of Iowa, maybe you expand, your radius a little bit more to get some of the population. This one's directed specifically for you, Waleed. You mentioned that you do sneaker cleaning. So, sorry, my question disappeared. I think it was, what percentage of your business is sneaker cleaning?
Got it. So we're super early on sneaker cleaning still. We've been doing it we're probably a year and a half in. And it totally happened by coincidence. One of our clients who come in the store, they were super interested. I'm a undercover, like, won't admit it, but now I have to sneaker. I have a secret sneaker addiction. So it was kind of, I had suppressed it for years, and this client was like, yeah, I want to go into business. I want to open up my own sneaker cleaning business. And we gave them an advice how to start a business, like the typical, small business person wants to get in it, and you have those conversations. And it kind of evolved over time. And when they were working on it, we said, hey, listen, we'll add it to our service line. It complements what we're already doing. We're doing laundry, we're doing dry cleaning. We'll add sneakers, and we can service someone's whole closet pretty much. And first we entered into a great partnership where we worked closely with them. They had space inside of our store where they would work on everything right in our facility. And then over time, we grew it, and then we've transitioned where we have and own the process 100%. So currently, since we're still early in it, sneakers account for about between 8 to 11% of our income right now. And it's all organic. We aren't really advertising. It's just mentioned on our website, on our Google page. And now we're really starting to really look into it deeper with the marketing and advertising, because we started getting people reaching out to us from other states and they actually mail sneakers to us. And we actually work with other laundry and dry cleaning facilities also. They'll advertise the service and then they send the sneakers to us. We clean it and send it right back to them so they can add it to their service line.
I'm pretty sure CLA's CEO, Mr. Brian Wallace, has sent you some sneakers to be cleaned, and we're from Chicago, so you're right about the across the state lines thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, my advice, market to college campuses. My college-age kids are obsessed with having clean sneakers, so it's good marketing.
I'm adding that to my notes right now.
So next question for either one of you, and I know this comes up a lot, is how do you structure performance pay for some of your staff on a per pound basis? You know, I guess, David, maybe you could go first.
The simple answer is we don't. We have an internal target, meaning when we hire launders, they're expected to reach a certain poundage per hour within 3 months of being hired. That being said, when they don't, what we do is we spend time with them, we train them, we try to figure out how we can help them. It's about feedback. When they go over it, we tell people. We tell every month we tell the whole team who the top 3 launderers were. There's no monetary incentive. What we do is share a portion of the tips. Half of the tips go to launderers, half of the tips go to drivers, and we feel that empowers them, and it makes them owners of the process, so to speak, where everyone is getting a little bit of the upside. And so we try not to call out people or deal too much with bonuses because it can be unfair. Some people just are faster than others. What we want to do is have an acceptable level that works on average for everybody.
That's great. Wally, do you do something different, or?
We're similar to what David's doing. We've tried both models, and I can echo what David said. We did the incentive thing, and it worked for a short amount of time. But when we looked at the data and we just spoke with our team members, we felt it was more about chasing the money versus servicing the client. It was just like, I want to do more pounds so I can get more. So we went back internally. I talked to Jess, who's my wife. She's partners in the soapbox with me, and we were like, what's the best way, 1, to keep morale up, and 2, how do we empower our staff, and 3, how do we economically empower them? So we did similar to what David is saying. We figured out what is the acceptable standard across the board, where people need to be as a team and as individuals, and then we figured it out, like, okay, if they hit that, or they hit these other KPIs, we'll just give them a raise, and that was it. I really feel weird about, I don't want to say weird, but if I have to dangle a carrot in front of you to get you to do more, I think it's just a race to, I don't want to say to the bottom, but it's just a race to nowhere. They're just chasing the dollar, versus if we set these team targets, individual targets, they hit it, and then we have team meetings later on and we say, okay, well, X weight is, and X time is the goal. What does the team feel about it's 6 months in, we're 8 months in, we need to raise what the standard is for the entire company and have a discussion to figure out what the new benchmark is. And we found that to be way more. We do the same thing as David and his team. We split the tips with the in-house team as well as the drivers. Well, the drivers, we do a little different. The tip gets split between, well, let me take that back, because we only have one driver. We use, what's a little different about our pickup and delivery, we use DoorDash exclusively for all of our residential pickup and deliveries. We have one driver who does our commercial pickup and deliveries, and he does some retail. But the tips that come in for a driver when he does do some retail, we have it go directly to them. And obviously when a dasher does it, they get the tip directly from the client tipping through our platform. So yeah.
I want to add to Waleed said, use the word team a lot, and I think that is really where one's focus needs to be. You know, having a couple like amazing launderers who are extremely fast, that's great, but what you really want is a team that is working together to achieve a standard that is acceptable and that is going to move the company forward. You don't want to be dependent on 2-3 people. And it creates a better environment, you know, where everyone feels like they're part of something rather than being looked at all the time.
Yeah, I like that. The team effort, they work together, not against each other, and all competitive for customers. And because I would think customers would sense that too. So that,
yeah,
that's
and then
great.
they even help each other out. Like if somebody's falling behind, you'll see another team member go versus when the economics is involved, they're like, I'm not helping them because then they're going to get the money. Like
Out for themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm trying to think how to phrase this question. They're saying that they would like to initiate, I think they mean wash, dry, fold, but they don't have the funds to start it. So any suggestions, I guess, how would you begin if you're kind of working on a shoestring, maybe is the best way to answer this. I think both of you, or at least Waleed, you said you did start with, you know, trying not to spend a lot of money. So I guess any advice or tips to get started if you have little funding to get started?
Yeah, well, it depends on the question. I can think of two scenarios for it. One, they have an existing self-service laundromat and they want to add wash and fold, or if it's someone who wants to get in the laundry business, but they only want to do wash and fold. In both scenarios, you can keep, from my experience, you can keep your expenses pretty low depending how much sweat equity you're willing to put in. So if you have a self-service laundromat, add it to your website. We do self-service, or your POS system that you're using in your store, turn on the pickup and delivery, and then wake up early or stay up late, get in your car and go pick up the clothes yourself. I did all of our pickup and deliveries the first year we started it. And let me be clear, I never wanted to do pickup and delivery, and I never wanted to do dry cleaning because I didn't want to deal with logistics. And I was told from being, you know, in the business, like, you don't want to do dry cleaning. If you lose a $500 blouse, oh my God, it's going to be totally game over for you. Ask me how many $500 blouses we lost, like none. So it was just mindset from other people. So I did all the pickup and deliveries the first year until we built it up enough where I felt comfortable handing it over to another driver, training wise and economic. If you're doing it from the other aspect, you aren't in the laundry business at all, and you want to get just into pickup and delivery, do the same thing. Go build a landing page real quick for really dirt cheap, do it yourself. Go get a domain. Don't use like yourlaundry@gmail or hotmail.com. Sorry for anybody who's doing that now. But do that, set it up, and then start taking orders and go out there and do it yourself. And if you don't have the time because maybe you have a regular full-time focus, you know, job-wise, you can look at how do you leverage the gig economy. And, you know, there's a lot of thoughts, plus and minus in our industry about it. We've done it for a little over a year, so you can use that to your advantage. It's low cost, quick, low barrier entry. Those would, you know, quickly with that, those are the two scenarios in a way I would look at it.
Anything to add, David?
Yeah, I'll expand on that a bit. You know, if you don't have your own facilities, you know, what a lot of these, like even some of the venture, actually, especially some of the venture capital funded wash and fold pickup and delivery companies do is they outsource to other people. For, you know, we got into this business almost by accident. You know, the wash and fold was the last thing I wanted to do, to be honest. And now we're like, you know, knee deep in the same. But we were approached by a company called Laundromat that did just that. They had a nice website. They had a great process, and they said, hey, could you do the wash and fold for us? And we said, okay, let's do it. And then, 3 months into this, my wife and I looked at each other. We thought, hey, I think we can do the same thing. We can do a better job. Let's do it ourselves. And that's kind of how we got into it. But this person didn't really was getting the money from the customers before they had to pay us out. And so it was a fairly inexpensive way to get into the business and to even scale the business. There is a point, I think, where you need to have your own processes and really, really have them dialed in nicely. But to get started, you really don't need much. You don't need. You need a nice web page, like Waleed said. But you can go to, is it Foursquare or Squarespace, Wix, whatever, and build a awesome, website in like 10 minutes. So that's what you should do.
Good advice. So the next question for both of you, are you doing anything in the commercial space, and how do you feel about that particular market?
David, you can go first.
All right. Yeah, commercial is not, we do commercial, but we try not to distinguish too much in terms of pricing. We're really focused on the residential market for a couple of reasons. For us, it's like the hardest problem to crack. We feel like if you can do it well for residential, everything else is gravy. Also, our margins are better. That being said, we do have a couple large accounts for wash and fold on the commercial side, and we do quite well with them. But I'd say at this point, I'd estimate that commercial only represents 20% of our overall volume.
Okay. How about you, Waleed?
We do commercial also. I'm a little more gangbuster than David on commercial. I think it's, and two, let's be clear, it depends on what market you're in and the area you're in. All these things are relative to where you are. So I look at commercial as in our market, and probably some others, it's a totally untapped resource. It's a lot of low-hanging fruit. And when I say commercial, and our team talks about commercial, we're looking at other SMBs. We're not trying to compete with like the Cintas and these, like, we're not doing linen rentals or any of that. We're looking at other businesses who are very similar to us in our local community, who we know do laundry themselves, and they need this type of service, and we want them to stop being distracted by laundry and focus on what they do. So, some of those might be like the typical barbershop, beauty salon. I'm a little iffy about restaurants and cafes, depending on like what they cook and how they do it. I've experienced one too many grease fires in the carts and in the dryers, so I'm gonna just leave that for a separate topic. But I think it's totally underrated. There are like a lot of retail shops. And we do commercial on the wash and fold side and the dry cleaning side, which is, to me, is a total layup for us in the industry. So we work with some high-end retailers in the city, and we dry clean all their team member uniforms, and their uniforms are suits. So they're wearing like a full two-piece suit to work every day. So we're dry cleaning pants from them, shirts, ties, blouse, blazers. And now we get their sneakers too, because their employees have to wear the sneakers of that brand, which is awesome. So that's like steady work and income for us. Like, we're at their stores twice a week, and some of them have multiple locations. So we service one well, we build a relationship, and then the manager's like, well, I manage 2 other stores. Can you just do those 2 and make this like easier for me on invoicing? I think it's a totally untapped resource that laundry owners and dry cleaners can get into without a big heavy lift and bring in some income. I'm on the same page as David. I'm not a fan of giving them these huge discounts. Our pricing for our commercial is very close to our retail price. And it's simple economics. If the driver can go to one store and pick up like 50 garments for dry cleaning, and then like 100 pounds of laundry and dry cleaning, and we're doing that twice a week at one little small boutique, and then they recommend us to their neighboring stores, it just becomes a huge ripple effect. yeah, I love commercial a lot.
Okay, you're making me reconsider here.
It's
Well,
easy to get, Dave. It's just hard to keep. You said it earlier.
I was laughing when you said suits. I'm like, do people wear suits anymore? I mean, if you can find that kind of business, it's hard to find people
Yeah.
who wear suits.
I mean, listen, I don't know what the data is, but I know quite a few dry cleaners that, spoke about how their industry is contracting because of COVID. And then they got into the wash and fold side of it. But if you think on the retail side and we really think about COVID, during COVID, when we went into the lockdown, there were essential workers who still had to go to work every day. And they still need like in healthcare, they needed their scrubs cleaned and their personal clothes because they're going to work every day. There were essential workers who were in the supermarkets, who were in restaurants. We kind of overlook that because I think sometimes we start thinking like we want to target that big shiny, business to say, look at this grandiose client I have, and you can put their logo on your stuff to say, look who we service. But listen, I'll take 10 SMBs in my neighborhood over one big retailer, and it's my driver doesn't have to go that far, and we have a great community. And what's even better than servicing the SMB is building the business relationship, and we could probably do a whole nother webinar on that, and business developing with them. I can't tell you how much business we've gotten from other small businesses in our neighborhood that we've either worked with or we just have a great relationship with. We promote their products and they promote our services in their stores.
Yeah, word of mouth.
100%.
So the next question has to do with pricing, and we tend to stay away from the exact numbers, but they're wanting to know more about the format. So do you charge by the pound? This person said they started with a flat rate by the bag pricing, but found it confused the customers. Now they switched to per pound and have had much fewer customer issues. So I don't know if you guys could talk a little bit about how you do your pricing, per pound, flat rate.
Sure, I can start. I mean, we started and we're currently using a per bag pricing we're basically, we think of it as a filter. So the price is pretty high to begin with. Right now we charge $55 up to 20 per bag, up to 25 pounds, meaning the minimum order is going to be that $55. It was very important from the beginning. If anyone's starting this out and watching this, it's very important that you don't go out there picking up 10 pounds of laundry and only charging people for 10 pounds of laundry. You're going to be losing money. And figure out what your costs are and figure out your economics per unit so that you're to ensure and build your pricing around that. That's my number one piece of advice when starting out. Otherwise, you're going to be in this cycle of trying to get business everywhere, and you're just not going to be profitable. So right now, we're actually considering going to per pound, and I think we'll be launching that in February. We're going to be, offering a subscription service on the one hand for like regular customers or people who have a lot of laundry, and then a la carte with a relatively high per pound pricing and no delivery fee. That for us is a way to simplify things even more, because yes, occasionally we do get complaints. Hey, I put in 2 bags, but it was only 20 pounds total. How come you're charging me $110? Miscommunications can happen. But overall, it's been good. It's been good. Customers who use this on a regular basis understand how we work. So it's a great way to start, is in my opinion, the per bag, I think.
Per bag. How about you, Wally?
We're per pound, but I've been tempted to go to per bag. We've tested it. I've been so tempted, just with some like incentives and ideas we had behind the per bag that we really wanted to do that would be a little difficult by the pound. We just never switched it. After we did the test, we just never pulled the trigger 100%. And then we came up with some crazy ideas we want to try with per pound. So around, subscription and different models that we're building out. So we'll probably be sticking with the per pound for a while. But yeah, I think it works either way, depending on, you know, how you structure it, what market you're in. I don't think there's a yes or no for either one. I've seen, I mean, David is clear example of stores who are successful using a per bag model, and then stores that are successful using a per pound model.
There was a question about subscriptions a little further down. I think you both kind of addressed it. So David, you currently do offer some sort of subscription model, and Waleed, you're considering it. Is that what I'm understanding?
We
Correct.
don't yet. We're about to. We only have one price, which is the per bag, which is that's our only product right now. But we will be offering subscriptions in February.
Okay. I think this one might be directed at you, Waleed, because you talked about, or one of you talked about Google Ads. They want to know if you're formulating your own ads or do you get an expert? They talked about that they just spent 1,100 and got 2,800, I guess, impressions and 172 clicks, but no conversion. So it sounds like it was not too successful. They're in North Carolina. I don't know, you know, area. So I can't remember if you both said Google Ads, but whoever uses that, if you can share a little bit more about your strategy.
That was me with the Google Ads, but we did most of the ads we did all of the ads ourselves for the first few years. About a year ago, I hired an AdWord expert who was able to really fine tune our marketing strategy on that front, and that was money well spent. I actually just discontinued our contract with him recently. But I'm happy to put anyone who wants to in touch with this gentleman who was great at what he does. Yeah, this is a tricky one because I'm still trying to figure out whether Google Ads are worth it in the end. This is 4 years into this. I'm still figuring this out, and we've paused this to see if it has if not having ads has a humongous impact on our growth, and I suspect it doesn't, and that's what we're going to find out. Word of mouth is much more powerful than Google Ads at the end of the day. Like if your product sucks, nothing you can do.
You just amplify your suckiness.
Right. Word of mouth can go both ways.
Yeah, the Google Ads is tricky. We played with it in the beginning a little bit, and some of the frustration that we had is once we launched it, and David, I don't know if you've seen this also, is our ads would start running, and then I would get notifications like, oh, you need to increase your bid amount, or you need to increase your budget because somebody else is outbidding you. And I was just like, I'm just throwing money after more money. And one of the things too, you mentioned it earlier, Danielle, the question is they got so many impressions, they got so many clicks, but they didn't see any orders. And I'm a true believer, I will experiment and play with some stuff, but I really need to be able to draw a direct correlation from if I spend $1,100, $2,000 on Google Ads, I want to know that when they clicked, that click turned into an order. Like you can see impressions, you can see clicks, but what happens after they click? It's super important to understand that. And it's a little vague, and I get it because there's privacy laws and things of that nature. So when we saw the Google just kept telling us to add more money, I just didn't feel too comfortable with that. And we just, we turned it off. And we looked at what are some other things we can do, like word of mouth is important. What are other things we can do to get more exposure that wouldn't cost us that much, or maybe it just involved a little more time. And I would say one thing that all the operators should really be looking at is Google My Business, AKA Google Business Profile. If you're not like optimizing that and using it, there's a lot you can do to it, and we can't touch it all in this webinar, but you should be exploring that. I mean, I'm not saying don't do Google Ads. There are people who are getting a lot of success, but it's expensive and it's not what it used to be.
Yeah, I want to emphasize that point that Wally just made. And this is all free, right? Your Google listing. It should look awesome. It should look great, and you should, encourage people to leave reviews. Yelp, awesome, or very important. All this free real estate that one has access to as a SMB. Take advantage of those and make sure that they are dialed in and just look great and have all your information on them. It's very easy. Like, we see some of our competitors, it's almost like, why didn't they spend just an hour or two on their listing? That really would have made them seem much more professional than I know. It's true.
Don't tell them, David. Don't tell. No, I'm just kidding.
This is free, right? Another thing I wanted to add though is, I know, Wally, you don't have your own trucks and stuff, but for us, we've noticed that our trucks, and we have, I think, 6 or 7 of them at this point, we have a big old logo on them, and we keep these trucks clean. They are beautiful, sparkling clean every day because they represent the company. When people start seeing that truck every day in their neighborhood, they get stuck in their head, and they're going to Google you, and they're going to find you, and that's how you're going to get a new customer. If your truck looks terrible, if your driver is speeding, there's a lot of things to think about, a lot of moving parts. I think France just scored, but you have to, the trucks are very important, or they can be a really good source of new revenue.
Yeah.
Well, and I just want to touch briefly, you guys both talked about the Google business listing, and that nicely ties into our January webinars, which we're doing like a digital marketing boot camp, and one is on your online reputation management, which is your listing. So we work with a company called AMP, and they're going to present on how to, enhance your listing so that in the Google ratings you rise, higher to the top. So at the end, I'll share more information, but it is definitely important. All right, next question, more so with employees. They want to know what your team structure is. So if one of you want to start.
Ours is simple. We have a store manager, and everybody reports and works directly with the store manager. They only call me like if the place is on fire. And we use a lot of communication tools. Like, we're really big into technology. So one, we use the Slacks. We have group channels for different things, customer service, things with order. So we're constantly slacking there, but it's super simple at our store. We have a manager. Everybody reports directly to the manager. The other thing that makes it a little simple is we try to empower our team members as much as possible with decision making and what they can do and can't do when it comes to customer service. So they can pretty much do refunds. They can give people credits, and they might not be able to do it 100% in the system, but they're authorized to tell a customer they can do up to X, and then they just put it in Slack, and the manager or myself will go into the back end and refund the credit card or add it to a credit to their account. We found the more we empower our team members to make those decisions, the more ownership, responsibility they take on, and it's just been a better streamlined experience than having a bunch of layers for us.
Yeah, our structure is pretty similar. We have 2 production or operation managers who report to my wife, who's in charge of operations. But in general, they do everything themselves. It's important, I agree, to empower your managers to take decisions and make decisions and do everything that would ordinarily go to the owner of the company. We see that as critical to us being able to grow, right? Taking ourselves out of the business as much as possible is a strategic decision. It's more costly at the beginning because you need to have more people, right? You need to have more managers. But I think that's really the only way to scale. If I'm the only point of contact for like important decisions, that could be dangerous. That could be dangerous. But every team member is really empowered to take action within their own space. We also have head launderers who basically help individual launderers do the job and do the job well, and that is helpful as well.
So kind of related to this, someone else is wanting to know recommendations for wash, dry, fold training. So to get those employees to the level you want them to be, what do you do to train them?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so we document the process. So we even have like pictures of how to fold, and it's like step by step. We totally use cheat codes. We use folding boards. We use blocks. Our goal is everything has to look exactly the same no matter who touches it, whether I did it or a day one team member. So, and it makes it simple and it keeps the learning curve down. Two, we've made videos so they can just watch them online or watch them in a store. And then they have to work like hands-on with someone for a certain amount of time. And then when we feel comfortable, then they're allowed to, pretty much work on their own. But we do have a time limit. They can't just shadow somebody for like 3-4 weeks. We're like, you have this amount of time to shadow, and we need to see that progression, whether it's folding, it's working the front counter, it's doing deliveries, whatever the position is, they have to grasp it in a certain amount of time.
Same.
Okay, same training. So this one is for you, Waleed. So anybody who gets Waleed's newsletter or sees he's got some pretty awesome swag. So they want to know, do your employees, do they wear stuff with your logo? The companies that you said, the other small businesses that you work with, do they get gear?
Yeah, so all of our team members, we're in the midst of rebranding our uniforms right now because we had some terminology on there that I'm not allowed to say on this webinar because I got served with a cease and desist. So, I don't know, one of my friends and my lawyer said, well, if you're not getting served, you're not really out there doing something. So I was like, I'll take your word for it. So they do, all of our team members, we try to tie everything back into our logo and our company colors. So all of our team members wear pink shirts, the same shirt I had on at the wash, dry, fold workshop.
Loved it.
Yeah, they all wear those so they stand out. We ask that they have either blue or black pants on. They could be jeans, whatever suits their fit. And now we're working on company sneakers since we started doing sneakers. So we want everyone to wear the same sneakers to work. We used to give out some of our t-shirts like to our customers or anyone in the neighborhood if they wanted one because they saw us wearing it. But we really don't have anything where we give other SMBs like, oh, here's our stuff. We wear yours. It's just mostly for our team members. So we're in the midst of getting new shirts, getting jackets for them. I think it's important, especially for our drivers when they're out in the street. People see them, they look a certain way. And then it makes them feel a certain way also. And then people come in your establishment, like everybody's looks the same. There's a uniform. It just adds another level of professionalism to a business that I think gets overlooked a lot in some people's eyes. They're just like, oh, it's the local laundromat, to just doing laundry. Well, we're just a local laundromat. We're just doing laundry until something goes wrong with their laundry or we lose something. Then they want to treat us like, we're some fancy Fifth Avenue and they want us to refund them and do all these different things for them to make it better for them. So yeah, that's currently where we are with our uniforms and just exploring new and different things.
David, do you guys do any sort of uniform or look to be consistent?
Yeah, I mean, we designed our own aprons and everyone, they need to be worn a certain way and to kind of standardize the look so that there's this professionalism that's apparent. But yeah, but other than that, not really. We give out t-shirts, but it's not really a requirement. It's just just those aprons.
I think it's good when someone walks in, if they need assistance, that, definitely then who the attendant is or a staff member who works there. So, all right, just kind of watching the time. It looks like we have several questions about DoorDash. People are always interested. So I know, Waleed, you said you use it. So Maybe if you can go a little bit more about how that works for you. Someone's wanting to know specifically, do you pass the entire delivery charge on to the customer? So maybe if you can talk a little bit about DoorDash, because people are always interested in this.
Yeah. And just to think, like not too long ago, people were saying you could never deliver laundry with the gig economy. Look at
Yeah.
here. Now everybody's doing an integration with it slowly but surely. So the way it works, it's super simple. We have a direct integration with our POS system. And the way it works is it sends a signal to DoorDash when one of our clients make an order. DoorDash dispatches the Dasher. Dasher shows up at their house. Think of just like your food. The only difference is it's two-way. When you order food, the Dasher shows up at the restaurant, picks up the food, and brings it to you. It works exactly the same way, except it's laundry. And you have a different pool of Dashers that you have to work with because clearly someone can't show up on a bike to take 150 pounds of laundry, even though I've seen it done on a scooter. Yeah, we've got some crazy stories when it comes to DoorDash and deliveries and pickups. But it's super straightforward. It's all handled right through the software. You don't have to manage anything different. When it comes to DoorDash charges a fee just like they do for food. We look at it and depending on what's going on, where we are, what the economy is doing, we do offer a subsidy from time to time where we'll absorb part of the cost, and then other times we don't. So there are times when it's 100% the client pays it, and it shows up. It's totally transparent. It shows up right in their dashboard to say it's going to be X amount if a Dasher picks it up or if a Dasher delivers it to you. And then when we do the subsidy, it shows them what the dollar amount would be when we're doing a subsidy. So we do both.
All right. Here's another question that we get a lot. So they're wanting to know how you know when it's time to add more help, and then where are you finding qualified people? That's like the magic question.
Yeah, I can take a stab at that. That we felt that it's always good to have a little bit of slack in the system, meaning to overhire a little bit. It's easier now that we're at a certain size, right? But at the beginning, there is this leap you have to make where you need more people who are being trained and then the demand. That's in our experience, right? We wanted people to be very comfortable so that when the day comes, because at the time, a year ago or the past couple of years, we've been growing fairly quickly every month. Yeah, it really comes down to that. Once we know that we're having issues finalizing the orders by the end of the day, it's time to get a new person. Yeah, so we don't have a specific rule.
Yeah, we do something similar to David. We run super lean, but we do slightly overhire. And it drives me a little crazy when I look at the camera sometime and I just see someone sitting around and, part of my dad comes out of me and I'm like, why are they sitting still, not doing anything? Like I need them to go do something, just look busy so I feel satisfied to a certain degree. But we factor that in to figure out, how much of it is, can we have that slack as David mentioned? And it's super important. I'd rather have a little slack. And then when we do start to pick up and we ramp up, that person can just jump right in versus we're stretched and then people are being overworked. They're working overtime. And overtime's when I can't, overtime rules are different in every municipality. But in New York, I'd rather pay someone to have a little slack in the system than paying overtime. And two, the money is important, but the other part is I don't want to burn my team out because then they don't come to work later on and then we're stuck even more for the team members who do show up. So we're running a little slack. The other thing we do is we use a ATS, an applicant tracking system when we're hiring. And I'm a little fortunate because we have another business and that business is based on people. Our people are our products. So we're constantly hiring and sourcing people. So I take a lot of the practice we use there and I apply it at the Soapbox. So we use an applicant tracking system, which makes it super easy. We post a job, it pushes out to all the job boards for us. So if we post one job, it goes out to like 70 different job boards with one click. So we're able to reach a variety of people. We'll post stuff on Craigslist too and tie it into our applicant tracker. And then we let it do all the filtering. We create questions to pre-qualify people ahead of time. And then we ask them to come in. And then we meet with them. And then sometimes we'll do what we call like slightly a trial. We'll talk to them. It might be their first time getting into laundry. And we'll say, listen, you can come. Let's make sure it's a good fit for you as well as us. You'll come to the store, you'll shadow a team member, you'll actually do some of the work, and we're going to pay you for it. It's not like we're asking you to come work for free. And then we sit down with them at the end of those like 3-4 days, whatever it might be, and say, what did you think? Get feedback, and then we make a solid decision from there.
Great. So we have a little few questions related to marketing. Waleed, someone says they enjoy your newsletter, but they're asking, do either of you recommend email marketing your customers? Do you utilize that as a way to either new customers or build business with existing?
Yeah, we send out a newsletter religiously every month. We know for a fact that it creates engagement. It renews engagement with those who've kind of dropped off, and it keeps just our brand fresh and relevant with our existing customers. And so, yeah, I would definitely recommend doing that.
Yeah, I agree with David. You definitely should do it. We were doing once a week without email at one point, and then we incorporated text messaging, SMS into it, that's a really deep conversation to have. And we found it to be super impactful to do both. I totally agree with what David said. It keeps our name in front of them. It keeps the brand front of mind for them. The challenge is figuring out what content you want to send out. And we have to keep in mind, people are being bombarded. Like we are all being bombarded every day, emails, texts, family, friends, we're on social media. Like, what can we do? What can we provide them that's going to be of value and is going to make you stand out? And when I say stand out, like, I don't know, is it going to educate them? Is it going to entertain them? Like, we need to think about those 3 buckets when we're creating content. What value is it going to add? So, we've currently paused ours because we're going through this redevelopment phase with our SMS and our email marketing to our internal clients, because we wanted to really have a big wow factor and something, I don't want to say they look forward to getting, but when they get it, it's just not like, delete or it's send it to spam. There's something in it of value, and not just, oh, it's a discount or they're sending coupons. I think those have a great place in our market, but the last thing we want to do is just be giving the shop away to draw in business. So like you got to run a 10, 15, 20% promotion to get your sales up. At the end of the day, when you run the numbers, your sales aren't really going up. You're just increasing the number of orders, but your overall economics probably is still going to be the same with the number of orders you were doing before you ran that promotion. Yeah, we could probably talk all day about that. So I'll leave it there.
Agree. Totally agree with Waleed. The importance, when sending out newsletters, you're competing, like Waleed said, with, tens of other newsletters potentially. The importance of finding your own voice. Why would someone want to open up that newsletter is really important. It's really important to think about it, to think about, what you want to be known for. This is what's so amazing about living in our time is that, these this newsletter software, exactly how many people are opening up your email, and you can tailor your message, depending on what kind of returns you get. There were some newsletters that were only getting 20% open rates, but we figured out how to get to beyond 50% just by tweaking what we put in it, what was in the tagline. Fortunately, we live in a time where we have all these tools at our disposal for very cheap.
Totally.
Well, you guys nicely promoted our second webinar in January for that is on email marketing. So that will cover some of these things. So There's only a couple minutes left. There were some questions that we didn't get to, so I apologize we couldn't get to everything, but I think there's a question at the end, and I don't think we have time to give 3 things, but maybe we can end with each of you giving, if you had to say what was the one most important thing to focus on to improve wash, dry, fold, pickup, and delivery, like what would be, just for the attendees, what's the one thing that sort of sticks out for each of you?
Go ahead, Wally.
I'll go first. Okay. I'm going to catch heat on it because I'm already am since the workshop. But my thing is, there are some core things that are given, and I'm not even going to touch on those. Like, of course, you need quality, you need to be consistent, etc. But for me, the one thing I would say to anybody is, you need to be different, and you need to figure out what your different is in your market, your style, and your shop, and you need to knock that out the park. Like, forget a single, forget a triple, forget a double, a triple, double, singles, whatever they are. You need to be smashing windshields in the parking lot. Like, and I'll use the sports analogy. You need to figure out, because at the end of the day, and it's super simple. 9, let me be a little gracious, 7 out of 10 laundromats or laundry services, we're all saying the same thing, plus or minus 10% in our messaging, on our websites, everywhere. We're saying the same thing, plus or minus 10%. And when everything is the same, you only leave your consumer one option to compare you with the next place, and that's price. And the last thing you want to be judged on is price. So if you're different, you're not going feature by feature like the person down the street or around the corner. They're going to compare you. They're not even going to compare you. They're just going to say it's different, and that's why I'm going to go there. And whatever the price is, I'm going to pay it because of that value. And I'm trying to figure out how David is getting $55 a bag so I can do that here in New York. Because I'm going to visit David. But yeah,
I was going to say the exact same thing. There is this tendency, you know, when there's all this, when you see all this competition around you, there's going to be this temptation to offer everything that they offer. And so you get into this game of copying everyone so that you can get everyone. And the truth is, this market is gigantic. It's humongous. But what you need is to have a beachhead. You need to have a foothold somewhere. Figure out what that foothold is going to be. In our case, we decided very early on, you know what? Let's just do free and clear only, and just concentrate on people who need that free and clear because they have sensitive skin or whatever, and then we can see. And let's cut out all the plastic. You know, it's not going to work for everybody. Some people are going to be grossed out, but let's just remove that. And that has been our difference. You know, people come to us, they seek us out. And other people as a result come as well, because the more people talk about it, the more other people want to be part of this, because we are different. And people do complain. They say, hey, I want, you know, the fruity smell of whatever, you know, detergent I had the other day. We say, well, listen, you can go to this competitor, and guess what? They don't go to that competitor. They stay with us because we know what we stand for and we know what we're good at. So do what Wally says. Do one thing really well, and 2, when people complain, get back to them. It's very simple. You'd be surprised by the number of Yelp reviews I've seen on competitor websites where all they had to do was write a note or call the person up, and that person would have been perfectly happy. This is not brain surgery. You know, a lot of it is just showing up and doing the work and responding. When people feel heard, they're going to come back. That's it. It's very simple.
Excellent advice from both of you. So just in a few closing moments, you got a lot of good information today. I love it because I actually learn something every time I do one of these webinars. So, but I did want to share a few other resources that we do have on wash, dry, fold, pickup, and delivery. For those of you who want more information, we do produce white papers, which are kind of like best practice guides. They're usually about 20-some pages, written by people in the industry. They're available in our e-store. If you're a member, they're free. You can download the PDF, review it as many times as you want. So we do have one on developing a wash, dry, fold, another on commercial laundry, plus a bunch of other topics. In addition to today's webinar, we've done several others on different areas of wash, dry, fold, pickup, delivery, you know, getting stains out on wash, dry, fold, commercial accounts. So we have videos of all of these webinars as well. They're also in our store under the video section. There's a whole bunch of them. This is just a few that I've listed here. One question was asked about training. If you need a tool to help you train, we do have a drop-off training kit. It's a video that shows how to fold for your attendants. It also includes a little printable stain removal guide. So that is also on our website in our store. And then lastly, I touched on these a little bit, but our next program is in January. We wanted to start off January as sort of a kickoff of marketing, like setting your marketing for the year, because as you heard today, it's so important in what you do to set yourself apart, gain customers. So one of them is on the online reputation management. So those Google business listings, that's January 12th. And the second one is on email marketing. Both are free. If you go to our events calendar, you can register for those in January. So with that, I want to first thank David and Waleed for sharing so much knowledge with us today. Really appreciate it. It was great content. And then thank all of you for attending. And I hope you all have very happy holidays and hope to see you again in the new year. All right, thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.